Good evening, Danvers. Welcome to the April 19th, 2022 Select Board meeting. I'd like to ask Select Board Member Duggan to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Where'd it go? Moved it.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. This time, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of April 5th.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Are there any comments or edits on the minutes of April 5th? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. This time, we'll open up the floor for new public business. That is, any business you'd like to present to the Select Board that is not on the agenda this evening. Is there anybody with new public business this evening? Seeing none, Mr. Bradstreet's not here, so, seeing none, we'll move right along. Agenda item number 3, the board will consider an application by Stephen and Kim Eddy, managers for a one-day wine and malt beverage license on Saturday, June 11th, 9 a.m. to 8 p.m., Pavilion Reservation, Endicott Park, 57 Forest Street. Is there someone here to speak to that? While you're going to the podium, I'd like to ask the clerk that everything is in order.
It is, yes.
Thank you. Welcome.
Well, thank you. I'm Kim Eddy, and we are celebrating our parents' 90th birthday. And reserve the park. We have a tip-certified bartender available who's actually done other events at the park, so she's familiar with it. And it's going to be about 35, mostly family. There's 4 siblings, there's 10 grandchildren, and 9 great-grandchildren, so we're hoping for good weather.
Hope so as well. I'll start with Select Board Member Mills.
It sounds like a wonderful family. Have a great time. Thank you. No questions.
Thank you.
Select Board Member Duggan.
All right, thank you. Just so there will be one person kind of managing the service, the liquor service?
Yes, she's a tip-certified bartender, so we'll have it roped off, and she'll be serving just beer and wine.
And checking IDs?
Yes.
Wristbands?
No.
Okay.
Not.
So this person will be responsible, right? So if there were any violations, that person would be held accountable. I think that's why you're hiring them,
Yes,
right?
that's exactly.
Well,
Yes.
I wish
Yep.
you success with the event.
Thank
Sounds
you.
like fun.
Thank you.
Thank you. Select Board Member Bernard.
Have a great time.
Thank you.
Select Board Member Bennett.
No questions. Good luck.
Thank you.
And you answered my questions. Sounds tip certified, rope drop area, controlled. I'm perfectly comfortable. I hope you have an enjoyable day and good weather.
Thank you.
This is not a public hearing. I will entertain a motion.
Move the application as presented.
Motion made
Second.
and seconded. Any questions on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much. Good luck.
All right,
Have a
thank
good day.
you. Thank you very much.
Agenda item number 4, the board will consider the application of DHS Lacrosse Boosters to hold a car wash on Saturday, May 14th, 2022, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. in the parking lot between Sylvan Street and Holton Street. Water to be supplied by a tanker truck. Is there someone to speak to this? Hi.
Yes, good evening. I'm Jean Argento, and I'm here on behalf of the Danvers High School Girls Lacrosse Team. And we're here to receive permission to use for a car wash on May 14th with possible rain date of the 15th. The town lot located between Sylvan and Holton Street from 9 a.m. until 2 p.m. And we've received permission from the DPW, the police department, and the school department. And so we're here to seek your approval this evening.
Sure, this is an opportunity for you to promote the Boosters activity, so tell us about it and what the Boosters, what you hope to do in your fundraising.
So with the fundraising that we will achieve from this event, we hope to be able to provide more training for the girls, also different club activities, particularly in the winter. We would like to have an earlier season, be able to play inside. And also we have at the end of the year, we have a closing banquet for the team.
Wonderful. I'll start with Select Board Member Duggan.
All right, thank you. Just a clarification on the actual location. It says, you said Sylvan and Holton. Did you mean Elm and Cherry, the long lot that's across the street?
Yes, that's
Across,
what
next
yes,
to the bank? Yeah, okay.
Where
That's
the
all my
farmer's market
question.
is held, yes, okay.
All right.
Thank you for the
Good luck with
correction,
that.
sir.
Select Board Member Bernard.
No, I think that's good. We're here to support any booster clubs. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Select Board Member Bennett.
No questions, good luck.
Select
Thank
Board
you.
Member Mills.
Well, I never went to a, one of these games till last Saturday or Sunday because my grandniece was playing in, they were playing over in the Beverly Middle School field.
Oh,
I
yes,
don't
yeah.
know what league, is that the same league as?
That's most likely a club league or a recreational league, so,
Well, it was just wonderful to see the kids doing that, so.
no,
thank
it's
you
a great
for-
sport.
Thank you for your efforts. It's
Thank you.
looks dangerous to me how they throw that ball, but that's up to you.
I have no questions. I wish you luck. The application, the clerk has informed me, has the rain date and the correct location. So to that end, I'll accept a motion.
Move the application as presented.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any questions on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Enjoy. Good luck. Agenda item number 5, the board will meet candidates for the Democratic Party vacancy on the Board of Registrars. I'll turn to the clerk so she might describe the vacancy and the process for filling the vacancy, please.
Sure. Kathy Keown, who is a longtime registrar of voters on the Democratic side, decided not to seek reappointment this year. That being said, the process is for us to reach out to the chair of the Democratic Party and ask for a list of candidates who might be interested in that. We got 4 candidates at this point, and we've invited all 4 in for introductions, and then the board can make a motion and appoint someone.
Great, I'm trying to find my note. The 4th person. All right, we welcome you. Thank you for the offer to the candidates to volunteer your time. We did receive a packet last week, and tonight we got another supplemental document. And so I do want to disclose, here we go, at the beginning of the process that I am related to one of the applicants, which in the town of Danvers is not hard to be. And so I have conferred with the town manager, and there would be no conflict of interest. There's no, I would derive no monetary benefit by this appointment to a volunteer board. So I will be voting on this as well. I have a stack here, and so I will go in the order of the stack I have, which is starting with Julie Curtis. If you'd like to go to the podium, give us a little bit of your background and your interest in this position. This is going to be one of those tough nights for the podium back there, Julie. This is going to be one of those tough nights where we have 4 interested people willing to donate their time to the town, and we're going to have to cut it down to 1 person. And it's unfortunate we have to, but it's just one of the byproduct of people being interested in helping, and we thank you all for your application. Julie, welcome.
Can you hear me, or?
We can. Could you introduce yourself?
Yes. Good evening, Select Board members. My name is Julie Curtis, and I'm a candidate for the Town of Danvers Registrar of Voters, representing the Democratic Party. I'm interested in being appointed to the Registrar of Voters for the Democratic position because I've always been impressed in how well the Danvers run elections, whether they are municipal, statewide, or national, including all of the complexities involved in running a successful election process, as Danvers always does. Because of all my invaluable experience in in assisting in previous election processes, including poll checking, poll observing, ballot placement, and ballot counting, as detailed in the resume. I present to you tonight, and I know that I am qualified for the position of Danvers Registrar of Voters, and I'm asking for your consideration of my application. I would like to leave you with a couple quotes from both State Representative Theodore Speliotis and State Senator Joan Lovely, which I feel represents my credentials for the position of Registrar of Voters. Quote, "Democracy is not a spectator sport," to Julie Curtis, whose political engagement is legendary in the Commonwealth, including and especially in the town of Danvers and throughout the North Shore, unquote. This is a statement from State Representative Theodore Speliotis. It was part of a resolution presented to the House of Representatives in 2017. The second quote, "Over the course of her career, Julie has been an active citizen in local government and politics. Julie has made the North Shore a better place to live, work, and play." And that was from Senator Joan Lovely, and it was part of this statement by the state senator on the nomination for me to be named as an unsung heroine in 2018. Finally, I would like to thank you all for giving me the chance to address you tonight and explaining why I know I would be a great fit to the Danvers Registrar of Voters team. And I am happy to answer any questions the Select Board may have.
Thank you. I'll open up to the select board if anybody has any
Can I
questions.
did everybody get my resume?
Yes, we have your talent pool document, and we have the resume that was on the desk this afternoon. I did. I believe all the others did as well. Select Board Member Mills, any questions?
No questions. I know Julie, I know of her qualifications, and I have profound respect for her.
Thank you. Select Board Member Bennett, Duggan?
Just a comment that, thank you for your continued service. I know you're involved throughout the town, different activities, so we commend you for that.
Thank you, sir.
Select Board Member Bernard?
Hi, Julie. You have an impressive resume, a lot of dedication to our town. I've seen you at some events, and
Thank you.
I wish you luck. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you. Select Board Member Bennett?
Thank you. It's going to be a very difficult choice. I wish I had a 3 or 4-headed coin, but I'd like to hear from all the candidates before I determine if I have questions.
Thank you. All right, we may ask you to come back at the end.
That's
Thank you,
all
Julie.
right. Be my pleasure.
The next person I had in my pile in random order was Marilyn Hayes. Hello, Marilyn.
Hello, Patrick.
Welcome.
Thank you very much. I feel very welcome.
This will be a difficult decision, and this isn't a competition. It's an important point to make. It is 4 good candidates vying for 1 spot, unfortunately, so.
My name is Marilyn Hazel, and I would like to add to what Gardner just said in that I hope the board sees some humor to the fact that 3/4 of the executive board of the Danvers Democratic Committee is present, and all good friends. So, and as testimony to our civic interest. Okay, I'll try to briefly go through a little bit about my background. I am first of all, my education. I hold a bachelor's degree in history from the University of Massachusetts in Amherst, and I hold a master's degree in education in secondary school administration from Salem State. As far as my professional career goes, I have been an educator for a total of 37 years. I am retired now. 33 of those years I taught in Danvers, both at the middle school and at the high school, and have also dabbled as a realtor. I had the good fortune in my career in teaching in Danvers in that I was in the history department, and for most of my career I taught political science, which is my proclivity. I have always been a civic-minded individual and always have believed in teaching my family and in my students to serve as a model, and I hope that in my activities I served as a model to all of them. As far as my resume goes for civic activities, I might state first, oh, by the way, I forgot to mention I was a principal of the evening school for a period of time. I have been chair of the Danvers Democratic Town Committee for well over 20 years, if not a member for 30, and I serve on the Democratic State Committee. In that capacity, aside from running many campaigns and going to the polls and doing poll checking and all that is required by us, I have been involved in raising money for a scholarship for a Danvers student, and both on the local committee and then on the state committee. I am on their subcommittee on scholarships. So I have been able to bring my love of education and the youth together with all that I love to do in the first place. For over 12 years, I was chair of Boy Scout Troop 58, and in that capacity, I also was a counselor for the merit badge in civics or government for the young men. Along with that, in serving in our community, I have been a town meeting member now, I believe, for about 30 years. I kind of lost track. I served first in Precinct 5. The precincts were redivided, and now I have been for the longest time a town meeting member in Precinct 6. Part of what I hope to, what I have done in showing young people what to do in my family is I've run many a drive for registration, voter registration. Years ago, we used to go in front of Demoulas up on the high hill there. I always picked the windiest day of the year to be there, and we would run voter registration drives. I have run a voter registration drive at Danvers High School and at the community college on the Danvers campus. I feel that my devotion to civic duty and the many administrative positions I've had would help me in, again, to continue on with helping the community of Danvers. Do you have any questions?
Select Board Member Duggan.
I know you to be an engaged town meeting member, and that you're an example of the type of person that contributes to the town, makes it a great place to live and work.
It certainly
So we
is.
thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Thank you, Select Board Member Bernard.
Thank you, Ms. Hazel, for all the committees and boards that you've done, and I was one of your students in political
I was
science.
about to.
Okay, so.
I thought so.
Right, Maureen Lynch.
Right. I remember.
Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Thank
No matter
you.
where I go, believe me, I run into a student.
Select Board Member Dunn.
No questions.
Select Board Member Mills.
I need to say that I have profound respect and affection for Marilyn. I've known her for many, many years, and up till I knew she was really busy with life, but tonight I'm even educated further as to what she has done with her life for the town and for government, and so I have nothing to add or to question about except to say we are very lucky to have the candidates that we have, including Marilyn. Thank you.
Thank you, David.
I would echo those sentiments. Thank you very much, Marilyn. The next person on the list I have is Katie Hislop. Hello, welcome.
Two very tough acts to follow. My name is Katie Hislop. I have been a Danvers resident for about 5 years now. Married, have 2 kids in the Danvers school system, both at Great Oak currently, one moving on to Holton Richmond next year. I expressed an interest in being considered for this role because I'm always looking for opportunities to get involved in the community and in various roles in the town. My current community involvement includes a town meeting member for Precinct 7. I am a recent graduate of the town Citizens Academy, a wonderful program. I'll give the plug for that. And also involved in a number of issue or cause-specific, sort of pop-up community groups. In terms of my background and qualifications, I'm an attorney by trade. I've been practicing for about 15 years now. And in this role, I'm required to be attentive to detail, to respect and observe confidentiality, and to have an understanding and knowledge of the laws, all of which I think are transferable skills and experience that would be applicable to this role. And finally, I just want to say, when I expressed an interest in being considered for this role, I didn't realize that it would be a contested race. So I'm sure that all of the candidates are, they're obviously willing to volunteer their time, and everybody is qualified and competent. So I'm confident that the select board will appoint the candidate they deem most appropriate. Any questions?
Thank you, Select Board Member Bernard.
Hi, Katie, how are you?
Hey, good, thanks. How are you?
Thank you for volunteering on the boards and commissions too, and, welcome to Danvers.
Thank you.
And I think you're a good candidate too, and we'll see how it goes. Thank you.
Select Board Member Bennett.
No questions.
Select Board Member Mills.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks for applying. I don't tell lawyer jokes. I happen to like lawyers. Took me a long time to like myself. So for you as a lawyer to be willing to do this is giving up important professional time. So thank you for that offer.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Select Board Member Duggan.
Also, thank you for your service as a town meeting member. It's an important role, and wish you the best.
Thank you.
Yes, I do also wish you the best. And we'll go to the last applicant, Thomas Marr. Welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for this opportunity to introduce myself and to discuss my interest in the Board of Registrars position with the town of Danvers. My name is Tom Marr. First question will always be, how do you spell that? It's M-E-A-G-H-E-R. It's the old Gaelic spelling of the name. I live at 23 Trinity Street with my wife, Carla. Carla and I are both recent retirees. She is a teacher with the Salem Public School System, and me as a former analyst and director with the Massachusetts State Auditor's Office. As I transition into my retirement years now, I have the time and the opportunity to apply the knowledge, skills, and experience I gained at the Auditor's Office to the state level and other venues, and I welcome this opportunity to give back to the town of Danvers. This is a wonderful community that we live in. I was glad to raise my children here. With respect to the vacant registrar's position, it is my understanding that with 2 registered Republicans currently serving as incumbents on the board, the primary qualification for this vacant position is to be a registered Democrat within the town. I am a proud Democrat, and I currently serve as the vice chair of the Danvers Democratic Town Committee with my friends and colleagues Marilyn Hazel and Julie Curtis. In addition, I have been elected to serve as a delegate to every Massachusetts Democratic State Convention since 1988. I've been involved in campaigns on the local, state, and federal level. But I think it's important to stress here in this, with the application for the registrar's position, but I am not applying for this as a Democratic activist. I am doing this rather as a proud public administrator and an involved citizen. I'm proud to be a Democrat, and I firmly believe in our democracy. But I believe in free and fair elections with election integrity assured through the proper counting and certification of election results. I steadfastly believe in the importance of civility and mutual respect and tolerance, regardless of party or political affiliation. Through my 40 years working for the State Auditor's Office, I sought to do team building and to increase government efficiency and effectiveness and to promote accountability and transparency in government with an overarching goal of making government work better. It is in this capacity that I am applying for the registrar's position. During our current climate of political divisiveness, with declining trust and confidence in government and ever-changing voting rights rules and regulations, I believe my unwavering faith in democracy, proven government experience, and personal temperament make me a highly qualified candidate for this position, and I look forward to this opportunity to serve the town. So thank you for your time and consideration, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Select Board Member Bennett.
No questions.
Select Board Member Mills.
I have no questions, it's just, I'm a member of the Democratic Town Committee, and of course, I know and respect the three people that I know from the committee. I never knew so much about Tom until tonight. Very, very beautiful presentation, and it's a very difficult night for me. Thank you.
Select Board Member Duggan.
Thank you, Tom, for your willingness to volunteer for the town. Appreciate it. In your time of retirement, it's great that you're willing to step up, so thank you.
Select Board Member Bernard.
Hi, Tom. Thank you very much for volunteering. I think retiring, this is great. This is a great opportunity for you to step in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I think it's an important point that Mr. Ma brought up was this, the registrar position isn't a political party advocacy position. It's meant to balance the roles of the audit of the elections. So it's for people who might be watching at home, it's designed to provide balance, so there's no even appearance of impropriety when it comes to those people who are overseeing the electoral process. This is thank you, Tom. Dan, you wanted to reserve questions till the end. Is there anybody you'd like to speak to?
No, I really have no questions. I'm impressed by the qualifications of all the applicants. They all spoke very well up here, and I'm sure any one of them would do an admirable job as a registrar. Again, I wish I had a four-headed coin.
Are there any other board comments before we accept a nomination?
Well,
Mr. Duggan?
yeah, I think this is kind of like having someone ask you what your favorite, which one of your children is your favorite. It's kind of a tough position, so I was thinking maybe we could do something like an arm wrestling contest to kind of get the best choice.
Any other comments from the board? I will say that I looked at all of these closely. Appreciate that everybody offers their time, and hopefully those three people aren't going to be appointed tonight. Hopefully those people will continue to consider other possible positions in the town as a volunteer and in their support, although I know many of them already do a lot of volunteer work. So, and I knowing the people I know they don't perceive this to be a competition of one pitted against the other, but the opportunity to serve and for like-minded people offered to serve. So at this time, I will entertain a motion for any of the candidates. Wow.
I move the nomination of Marilyn Hazel to the position that's under consideration.
Second.
There's a motion made and seconded. Based on our process, we take the motion, we move the motion, and we will discuss the motion and then act on that motion.
Can I make a motion to nominate somebody too, or no? Does it come down to a tie, or how does that work?
I'm sorry, Maureen.
I'm sorry.
So the process would be a nomination's been made.
Okay.
We're gonna open it now for discussion.
Mm-hmm.
And based on that discussion, but we're gonna go forward with the motion that was made and seconded. Unless you make a motion to the contrary.
All right, I'd like to make a motion, an alternate motion for Katie Hislop to,
Okay. So that would be an amendment to the motion that's made. Is there anybody in support of the amendment for Katie? Any seconds? I don't hear a second, so we're gonna revert back to the original motion. I would make a motion for Tom as an amendment to the motion made. Is there any second to that motion? Okay, hearing none, the original motion still carries. Any other amendment offers? We'll revert back to the original motion of Marilyn Hazel. Any other discussion on the original motion for Marilyn Hazel? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Marilyn, thank you for your willingness to serve, and thanks to the others for your willingness to apply. We do appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. All right. The board will vote to accept a gift to the senior center in accordance with MGL Chapter 44, Paragraph 53A. I'm certain that the town clerk will get with you about the next steps in the process. Mr. Town Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I suspect the motion for this item will be much more straightforward than the last one. We have a $500 gift that's been offered to the senior center in memory of Joan Adrian to be used by the center wherever they deem it most needed. And for MGL, that gift must be accepted by the select board before it can be used at the senior center.
Is there any discussion on the gift? Board members?
Make a motion to accept the gift as presented.
Second.
I'm going to presume you mean with the
Appropriate letter, thank you.
motion made and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much. Thank you for the gift. I'm certain the senior center will put it to good and appropriate use. All right. The board will hear an update from staff on the town's compliance with paragraph 3A of MGL Chapter 40A, multifamily housing requirements in the MBTA communities. Mr. Town Manager?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There's no action required on this, and in some ways, we're checking a box tonight, but I think everybody up here is familiar with the section of the Economic Development Bill last year that described and defined a multifamily housing by right requirement for any community that is served, and I'm using air quotes, by the MBTA, because that could be in the form of a light rail, bus service, et cetera. Aaron Henry and David Fields have been paying very close attention to this. The good news for the town of Danvers is that the extensive rezoning work that we did in our downtown in 2017 and 2020 has us about 90% in compliance with the requirements under this law, which in summary required that there be an area of land no less than 50 acres with a by right density of no fewer than 15 units per acre. And in our downtown, as is noted in David's memo, we rezoned about 85 acres of land. And the by right development density in those areas starts at 12 units per acre, and by special permit can go up to 36 units per acre. So the bottom line is that we will likely need to make some tweaks to our zoning book in the next year or so to be fully in compliance with the state's multifamily housing law. But many communities are having to look at starting this process from scratch. Thankfully, we're pretty close to compliance as we stand today. So there will be more to follow. David and Aaron are waiting for further guidance from DHCD, but we'll probably be having a conversation with some options for how to bring ourselves into compliance. If we have a fall town meeting this year, it would be at that town meeting or potentially one soon thereafter. So I'd be happy to try to answer any preliminary questions the board has, but this is the first of probably several updates on this topic.
Thank you, Select Board Member Bennett.
Thank you. So one of the requirements is that it's not more than a half mile from a commuter rail station, subway station, ferry terminal, or bus station. We have none of the above. So it's rather ludicrous that we're held to the highest standard of, I think it was 1,500 units.
I think that's right.
Okay, because we don't have any of these. We are adjacent to communities with commuter rail, as all the 125 communities are. But why should we be held to that higher number when we, again, don't have the stations? And I did attend a webinar, and I did ask that very question of the gentleman making the presentation via the chat, and I got no response. Is there anything that we can do to make an argument that we shouldn't be held to that higher number, but be allowed to have some number smaller, which I think is 900 units?
We've asked the question. The answer we've received has been similar to the one you received on the Zoom call.
Which is nothing.
Which is nothing, and I think the step back, the intent of this law, we know that we have a shortage of housing in the Commonwealth, particularly in eastern Massachusetts, although it's also true in western Massachusetts. And the intent of this law is to try to stimulate the development of more housing stock than just the single-family home subdivisions that we most commonly see in communities that don't have up-to-date zoning. I think the discussion you raised is one we'll continue to have, which is as a community that not only doesn't have a transportation hub, but has seen its service from the MBTA reduced in recent years, why it's a one-size-fits-all. But again, the good news is, from both a housing count perspective and a density perspective, the work that our town meeting did prior to this law being passed was already 90% of what this law is intending to do, which I think, you know, if the state's being honest, they would look at the work in the town of Danvers and say they're already trying to do what this law intended. But we will continue to ask those questions.
And I certainly agree with the law and advocated for the law to be passed and signed by the legislative bodies. What is the 10% that we don't comply with?
So that's my term, not their term.
Okay.
But the example I gave, if you look in the zoning book for the 40R up at the end of the square, some of our, I think for the cottage style housing, the unit per acre by right is 8 units per acre. It goes up from 8 to maybe 20, depending on the type of development. And the law requires 15. So we have some questions about whether that's a blended rate or if it's an across-the-board minimum. And some of the options we'll look at coming back for town meeting would be, you could increase the minimum densities and bring down the special permit maximums and land on the same number. You could simply increase the minimums to comply. So we'll have a couple of different menu options to look at, which David and Aaron will present once we have a better grasp on both the question you raised and then secondarily what our requirement based compared to the current book will actually look like.
Great. And you are checking your boxes. You had to have a presentation to the select board, I think by May 1st or something. So
And
you're just
this
under
is
the
a much
wire.
easier conversation in Danvers than in many towns where there is no zoning to permit any multifamily housing, and the state is now saying you have to have on paper, you know, more than 1,000 units. So again, I think we're positioned much better than many of our peer communities.
That's good to hear. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Select Board Member Mills.
No questions or thoughts, except I am very confident in David Field and Aaron and the department and the attention that they pay to the statute and to our requirements and to the interests of Danvers to make sure that we are not unfairly treated in the legislation. We're very fortunate to have those people, and I think they do a great job. And I used to teach this stuff when I was young, and I don't anymore because it gets too complicated for me. But thank you, nothing else to add.
Thank you, Select Board Member Duggan.
Thank you. First, I see this as just an ongoing attempt by Governor Baker to kind of wrestle Chapter 40 away from local control, and specifically some boards that require a supermajority, and he's trying to water that requirement down to just a simple majority. The town manager mentioned communities that really have not taken the lead on this locally. So, for example, I attended a zoning workshop at Beverly City Hall last month. They're attempting to do an overlay at the end of Bridge Street where the lumber yard is, the bowling alley, and the car wash. They're going to allow perhaps up to 1,000 dwelling units in that area. So that's kind of almost like an overreaction. So my thought is that similar to what some communities are just kind of going to thumb their nose at this, that there's not really a big enough incentive to kind of implement this type of density in their communities. It seems to be kind of overkill. I realize that Massachusetts has a shortage of housing. It's like that across the country. And kind of coming up with this type of solution seems to be overbearing. And so I would question whether the town really needs to modify the overlay districts that they've, town meeting has implemented over the past few years with the Hot Lot, with Maple Street and the High Street corridors. There's already sufficient density, I believe, of up to 15 units an acre. And I think that for our town, that seems to be sufficient. But I'm sure we'll be discussing this further and having some type of kind of maybe some community input to kind of see what people are thinking. So that's all I have at the moment.
Thank you, Select Board Member Bernard.
Yeah, I agree too. I think, you know, it's a hot topic. And they're gonna release some further guidance on some timelines, and we need to keep our eye on it. That's it.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I want to apologize, both Marilyn and I.
That's quite all right. You're welcome to head out. No worries, no worries.
That's okay.
I did want to
So,
apologize.
thank you. So, the incentive for this is to increase the affordable housing opportunities, and many communities have embraced that need, and some communities haven't. So, between the DHCD and the governor's actions, the carrots have not often worked, and sometimes it requires the stick. So, you know, while I can understand the reaction that other communities will have because they have not started this or embraced it, Danvers is in a good position. This has been the basis, this has been an agenda item, a topic at the Danvers Affordable Housing Trust meetings for the past couple of meetings. The primary delta we would have to go with is bringing the 12 unit minimum to a 15 unit minimum. But the question I'm still waiting to hear is what is the penalty for not doing so? Is it some sort of funding mechanism or loss of opportunity, Mr. Town Manager?
Mr. Chairman, yes, the memo speaks to the official guidance today, which is that non-compliance with these requirements could result in inability to pursue state grants across a number of categories, including housing choice, local capital projects, mass works, and most importantly, the law leaves broad discretion for the agencies to evaluate whether these are working and then consider additional steps. So the penalty at this point appears to be the withholding of state funds if communities are actively not making an attempt to comply. And I think one of the notes about, and I was talking about this with David Fields today, the zoning book right now has a by right density and then a special permit density. And the special permit density, in the event that improvements are being made that the regulatory boards deem to be beneficial to the town, the permits can be issued up to the upper limit. All of the calculations that were done in terms of the build-out analysis for both of those zoning exercises assumed special permits would be issued. So theoretically, you could adjust the bottom density allowance by right without affecting the upper cap if the special permits. But I think to do justice to this, I want Aaron and David to have a chance to really digest it and make some presentations so that we can understand what those trade-offs look like. But increasing the minimums wouldn't necessarily impact the ultimate build-out analysis. It would just have you would have fewer projects with higher density rather than more projects with lower density potentially.
Then the other question I have is similar to building off what Select Board Member Bennett said is, not more than a half mile from a commuter rail station, subway station, ferry terminal, or bus station, if applicable. We can't control that. That is actually the MBTA who controls that. So, great, put a subway station within, someplace in Danvers, or a ferry, or, we don't have the mechanism to make that. To me, that's not we have to comply, it's that they have, that is a litmus test for them, for the application of the rest of this. We have no ability to bring in our own bus routes, MBTA bus routes. As a matter of fact, we've tried. It's like when Bennett and I were on a couple of committees where we tried to get it up near the former state hospital location, so to increase activity and access to North Shore Community College and to that area. which has several housing opportunities up there, you know, and developments up there to provide for better public transportation. This isn't something we control, it's something they control. So is the last bullet on our responsibility, or is it we are compelled to the rest of this language based on their responsibility to provide that half mile, someplace within the half mile?
They have determined that we are one of the 175 communities that fall under this law. I wish I had a more detailed answer than that.
Mm-hmm.
It is, I'll use the term frustrating, but when our town meeting was accepting rezoning in our downtown, we had an underutilized bus that stopped on High Street in the heart of our downtown, and some of our discussions with town meeting revolved around, as housing crops up in the downtown, there will be more demand for that service. Nobody saw the pandemic coming, but they have had that route taken. We have communicated with the HCD that we need to be working in unison with the state. They were approving the zoning that we were putting in place at the same time that they were making changes to the bus routes that would serve that area. So I guess that I'll stop there.
Okay, well, I think we made, Mr. Bennett, yes?
I just wanted to point out, this is not a requirement, although they can be held at bay if we don't do it for these funds. But again, they didn't make it a requirement, it's a recommendation, which makes it even more confusing.
Well, on one of the MMA calls, when the secretary was asked directly, is this a recommendation or a mandate, he said, I see the word shall, so this is a mandate. And they also made very clear that the grant funds that they are contemplating withholding, if that proves not to be, if enough communities say keep your money, they're gonna look at other ways to incentivize the development of housing. So again, my sense in sitting in these calls, Danvers is not the target of this legislation because we're already producing housing that I use 90%, but we already have zoning on the books that largely does what they're trying to do. So we're looking at potentially tweaking rather than wholesale development.
If there are further discussions, can you ask about the opportunity for a safe harbor provision? DHCD provides a safe harbor provision if a community is actively working on a resolution. I'm speaking in terms of 40B.
Yeah, that's been raised on a lot of calls.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Then you can consider the box checked. You have informed the select board.
Excellent.
Thank you. Great. Public hearing will be held on joint poll positions by Danvers. There are actually two of these articles here for a total of four poll petitions. I'll ask the board if we just want to take them all at once, vote on them separately, and just hear the presentation of all four.
So there's two Danvers and two
Oh.
Verizon poll petitions.
Okay, then we will hear first from the Danvers Electric Division, according to the agenda. Public hearing will be held on two joint poll positions by Danvers Electric. I'm not going to go into the details that you will, but we did receive in our packet diagrams for the locations. Welcome.
Thank you. So yeah, we just have
Sorry,
two.
Ed Bandar from our.
Ed
there,
Bandar,
thank you.
distribution engineer for the electric division. I apologize. So yeah, we just have two locations that Danvers has been requesting. I'll also stay while Verizon's here in case you have any questions, because we actually proposed, I believe, both those locations as well. So the first one is to install a new pole and anchor on Summer Street, near 52 Summer Street. There was a large capacitor bank that was installed there, and we have some guying concerns. Kelly Kabrinsky, systems engineer, has already spoken to the homeowners as well as sent letters, aside from the abutters letters, and to my knowledge, there are no concerns with that. So again, that's just you know, a pole and an anchor, and then a wire holding the other pole in place, stabilizing it. Does anyone have any questions about the 52 Summer Street, pole 12-18S?
I'm going to channel my good friend and former select board member, Bill Clark. This one's a new pole, not, is it a replacement of one that exists?
No,
Or
it's-
a net new?
It's new.
Okay, and it's a single, not a double, I'm presuming.
Yes, yes.
It's not that there's a pole there that you're now
No.
joining one to?
Correct.
Okay. Any other board members have questions on 52 Summer Street?
Mr. Chairman, both the landowners, homeowners at 50 and 52 have been contacted and are okay with this?
To my knowledge, yes.
Well, if it's not your
It's like,
knowledge, whose knowledge
the
would it
clerk-
be?
Clerk has an answer.
I can respond to that. We did do a legal ad in the newspaper as well as about a notification. So 50, 52, 53, 57, they've all been notified without.
But a notification, but not an outright reach to them, particularly to inform them what's going on.
Well, I sent them a letter telling them this is what's going on, there's a public
That's
hearing.
not a direct
Actually,
approach.
I don't know how a letter to the homeowner isn't a direct approach. Are you looking for specifically a phone call?
I'm thinking in the past, we've had homeowners here recently, corner of Pine Street.
That was in response to the letter that I
There
sent.
was in response to
Yes.
the letter, not a phone call or reach out.
Correct, in
Okay,
response to the notification.
okay.
That's how.
So
we've
the
done
onus
it.
is on the homeowner to read their mail?
Correct. Yes.
Okay,
and Kelly actually did more due diligence and even knocked on the door and spoke with the homeowner.
okay, thank you. Great, glad to hear that, thank you. Okay.
Any other questions about 52 Summer Street? Stephanie, nothing? Anybody else? All right, this and the other one.
Excuse me, how long is it going to take to do this?
It's not my project. I'm guessing in the next couple weeks, a month or two.
You're going to start it in the next couple of weeks or a month or two?
Yeah, I mean, it's just one pole set and an anchor set, so it's just,
So a day?
yeah.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Both of these are on one petition, so we'll hear the second one on Brookside.
Okay, so this is a service is basically being fed, it's well over 100 feet. The point of attachment on the house isn't too high. And so basically this wire has been sitting about 9 or 10 feet off of the road. I believe it's been ripped off by a plow twice. So, you know, just to improve the quality of service for this one specific customer at 28 Brookside Ave, we're requesting to set this almost like a mid-span pole to better serve their house.
Is there any question on this? So the black dot on our diagram is the existing pole, which will remain.
Which will remain and will not be
And
replaced.
my presumption is that it will go up higher pole to pole, so
Yep.
it's no longer 9 feet above that road.
Correct.
And higher on the new red dot pole at a different angle to the home.
Correct.
And above the road, the Brookside Ave, and I can't give you, looks like it's the southeast direction. It too will be above 9 feet?
Yes, everything will be raised and lifted. And if you actually look down the road, there is another pole.
Yep.
That's doing the exact same purpose. I guess there was a similar issue down there as well, so.
Is there any board questions on this one, Mr. Duggan?
So I went down there to look at it, and the wire is very, very close. Like, you could stand on the roof of your car and probably touch it. So
Yeah.
it's definitely a public safety issue. And the house is set back from the roadway, so the wire where it attaches to the house is already kind of high enough. I was thinking maybe you could run a steel cable or something, but it's just the span of 100 feet. That's much longer than what you would typically have between poles, I would guess.
Correct. You know, and
So, just with the pole placement, so that's a difficult spot there because there's a guardrail and then there's the water, so,
so it will be right up against the guardrail, several feet from the water. I believe included in the petition is a letter, an environmental letter. So there should be no environmental concerns. And as I previously mentioned, there is one down the road.
yeah, I
a
saw that
ways.
one, yeah.
Yeah,
So you talk about environmental, you're talking about the Conservation Commission?
I believe so.
Yeah.
I'm not,
So how will that pole will just be a standalone pole without any guide wires?
correct. It's, it'll be in line, so
Yeah.
there won't be an angle. There'll be no deflection on the pole.
Yeah, there's definitely a need for it. I'm surprised that it hadn't already been done because I've seen wires get ripped off, the power head off of houses, and it's not a pretty sight. It's actually, it's a dangerous situation, so,
Exactly, yes.
yeah, all right. And I guess the same question that Board Member Bernard had, this is something that will occur in the near term, like this summer or whatever?
Correct.
Okay, that's all I have, thank you.
Any other questions? And the only interruption of power would be to that one house, so they would understand and expect that.
Hope so.
All right, this is item number 8. This is a public hearing. Does anybody have a question on these 2 poll positions from Danvers? Yes, sir, Mr. Bradstreet. Welcome. We were concerned, we were about to send out a search party.
I appreciate
If
it.
a St. Bernard shows up at your doorstep with a cask,
Will I have to, I can drink, but will I have to feed him too? I'm sorry, Bill Bradstreet, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 1. This is 50 Summer Street. Mr. Bennett, what's the house that they're trying to preserve? What number is that?
42,
Is this?
42, well down the hill.
Oh, okay, so this pole would have no adverse effect either way?
I can't see any, because it's up the road a fair piece on the other side of the memory home, up
Okay,
the hill a
okay.
little bit.
Thank you. I just thought it was worth asking.
No, it
Thank
is,
you.
yeah, no.
Thank you.
is there any other public comment on this application? I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
No move.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to close the public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I'll entertain a motion on agenda number 8. Item number 8. So we'll make a motion on that?
A motion to
Accept.
move it, accept it as presented.
Thank you. Motion made
Second.
and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much. And now, we'll hear from our friends at Verizon about the 2 that they would like to ask about. So, please. Welcome. If you could state your name for us?
Evening. My name is Alexander Marrero, Marrero, from Marlborough, Massachusetts. I'm an employee of Pike Telecom and Renewables LLC, an authorized contractor for Verizon of New England Incorporated. I'm here in support of 2 petitions to place. One is for a relocation of pole 48S along Sylvan Street. It's going to be relocated about 40 feet along the street, closer to Linden Drive. The second one is for placement of a new pole 18S on Poplar Street in support of existing pole 18, Poplar Street. So both are being done at the request of Danvers Electric Division. They requested that Verizon relocate pole on Sylvan Street and place a new pole on Poplar Street. Do you have any questions?
Quick question. Not knowing the legends and the way you do. Okay, so the poles that you're putting in, one will be removed. The one on Sylvan Street, it'll be relocated and the original one removed. Is that accurate? Am I reading this right?
Correct.
And the one on Poplar Street near school,
That's a new,
that one's also going to be just moved to the other side of the street.
no, that's a new pole.
Oh, it's a new pole. Okay, like I said, it's not, okay. Will the line go across the street, or is it to support the same side street, the same lines on that street on the one side?
So the one on Poplar Street is in support of the pole 18 that's across the street.
So something will cross the street, a wire
Yes,
will
a
go
guy
across.
wire will
Okay.
cross the street.
Okay. Board members, do you have any questions on either of these 2 pole placements?
I assume these are higher poles than are there now?
We will be
Taller?
placing 2 40 Class 2 poles, 40-foot Class 2 poles, which is, I believe, the same size that there are right now.
So you're gonna, they're currently 40, you're gonna replace them with a 40.
Well, the one we're replacing is going to be a 40. The one that we're placing is going to be a 40.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Duggan. Did you have something?
Yeah, I had a question. So for the pole on School and Poplar, the new pole will not have wires on it other than like a guy wire, just for to stabilize the one that's already there?
Correct.
Okay, that's all I have, thank you.
Thank you.
No, that's, I think, and you work with the electric company and coordinate everything with the poles, so they know.
So Verizon coordinates with the electric company, yes.
Okay, good. And you're going to start this when?
We don't have an install date yet. We're still waiting on the petition to get approved for them to be able to schedule, but hopefully it will get done within a month or two.
Okay, great, thank you.
It is, okay, this will be a joint owned poll. Thank you. I have no questions. This is a public hearing. Is there any questions on the application by Verizon on these two placements? On the two polls being requested?
Motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to close the public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. I'll entertain a motion on this application by Verizon.
Motion to approve the application as presented.
And do I have a second?
Second.
And seconded. Any questions on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Number 10, a public hearing will be held on the application of RBK Auto Sales, doing business as RBK Auto Motors, 100 Ferncroft Road, Unit 110, Richard Campbell, owner for a Class 2 dealer's license at that location. To the town clerk, I'm assuming all paperwork is in order.
It is.
Thank you. Please welcome and introduce yourself.
Good evening, my name is Richard Campo. I'm looking to open a used car dealership in the town of Danvers. I was able to secure a small place where it fits my needs. And I went through the building department, zoning department, and fire department. And for the unit that we have, it's all suited for the car dealership. It's a small car dealership business. I am a car enthusiast, I'm a car lover, and also a car collector. And I'm looking to do a legitimate business selling my cars.
Just out of curiosity, is it a specialty dealership? You say you're a car enthusiast and a car collector. Is it a specialty car or general used cars? Or?
General used cars, yes.
Thank you. Select board members, Select board member Bernard.
What are your hours of operation going to be?
8 to 4.
Monday through
Monday to Friday.
Oh, no weekends?
No.
And how many cars will you host at one time? You know, it's hard to say right now, but.
For the plans we have submitted, we have space for up to 10 cars.
Up to what, hon?
Up to 10 cars.
Okay. Okay, good. Nope, that's it.
Thank you, Select board member Bennett.
Thank you. Is anybody familiar with 100 Ferncroft Road? I'm wondering how many units there are up there, because this is Unit 110.
22.
22 units. Are there other car dealerships?
I'll defer to the town clerk.
My understanding is that there are two others.
Two others. I couldn't, yeah, I remember hearings before we've had car dealerships. So it's not unusual for this location to be selling cars. A little strange, but there are two others as well. Okay, thank you.
Select board member Mills.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just looking, Richard, you're the applicant.
Yes.
What kind of cars would you, are these specialty cars, antique cars, or?
No, they're just normal cars, like Honda Civic, Corollas and stuff. Nothing special.
Okay. Interesting. No other questions, thank you.
Select board member Duggan.
Okay, thank you. Can you just kind of describe what like a normal day would look like? Will you be doing repairs there? That type of like a garage kind of operation?
No, we will have no repairs. I have a body shop and a mechanic that we work with. So over there will be just storing the cars and selling the cars.
Okay.
But no repairs at the property.
Okay. So it's a busy place. Are you located there now and you're looking to kind of ramp up to do the sales? Is that what the?
I already secured the place, so I have a leasing. I also have a building permit in place, so we can expand inside, and we're building an office. and enclosing the kitchen that is existing there. But basically, it's a small a car dealership, and I'll be the only one working there for now. And it's going to be mostly by appointments because it's in the rear of the building, so there's no frontage or it's not like a very busy place. So it's be mostly by appointments only. And it's going to be just me working there for now.
Okay. So you'll be advertising the vehicles like online?
Yes, correct.
And then someone would call you, and then you'd set up a time for
And
them
show
to
up the
kind of
cars on the property.
do like a test drive or something like
Yes.
that? The vehicles will be stored inside most of the time or all the time?
All the time. I currently have space as in the plans for 10 cars inside, and I have 3 parking spots on the outside. So basically, it's going to be my car and whoever's coming to see the cars, we're going to use, and I will have an extra parking spot also.
Right. So I think that's what the manager of the facility told us, that they're each condo, which is what they are, each condo is deeded 3 spots.
Correct.
So you wouldn't be storing any of these vehicles outside, like overnight or anything
No.
like that? You'd keep those 3 spots for your customers and for yourself?
Correct.
Okay. All right, well, I wish you the best.
Thank you very much,
That's all
sir.
I have, thank you.
And I have no questions. Did I start with you, or did you get it?
I'm all set, I did,
Okay.
yeah.
Got a follow-up, Mr. Trask. Looking at the diagram, I guess the doors are only at one end of the building to bring the vehicles in and out?
Correct.
So I want to come up there and make an appointment to come see the 10th car in the lot. What are you going to do before I get there? You're going to have that car out front ready to go, or?
Pretty much. I'm going to apply for also have a dealer license, license plate. So I'm going to have the car ready in front of the door for the customer.
So where will you store the 4 cars that you pull out before the one at the end?
Well, I'll have to move them all around in order to bring the car out.
So you have a lease, you have 3 assigned parking spaces, one for you, one for your customer,
Correct.
but you got 4 cars. What are you going to do with those?
Well, as now, I'm not going to have the full 10 cars that I'm able to put inside.
Okay,
I'm
so
gonna
if
start
business picks
slowly.
up and you fill it up with 10 cars, what do you do?
Yeah, I can, I have an overflow lot. So whenever I have access on those 10 cars, I can bring over to, we have a warehouse also in Woburn, which is 4,000 square feet. Whatever we cannot fit there, I can bring over to Woburn.
Where's your overflow lot?
It's on the property on the side.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, all set.
This is a public hearing. Is there any member of the public who would like to speak to this application? Sir,
We're here as trustees to the property.
if you'd like to speak to the application, please just pop up to the podium because we do televise. If you're speaking in support, feel free.
May both of us?
You may, both of you. Welcome.
My name is Mark Siepka. I'm a trustee at 100 Ferncroft. This is Jim.
My name is Jim McDonald. I'm also a trustee at 100 Ferncroft and also a condo owner.
And if I could, just for the board's edification, as a trustee, you're not the owner, but what is the relationship of trustee to the condos to the condos in the area?
We run the property.
Okay, thank you.
We supervise and we run and oversee the property.
Thank you, thank you.
Currently, what we have going on down there is the 2 units have been sold about a year ago. The applicant that is here in front of the board has not notified us whatsoever of any building, any permits, any signage, and yet he's gone forward and done all these things. The property has no overflow parking, no visitor parking. There are 68 deeded spots on the property. As as currently, the two bays, 110 and what is it, 109? 110 and 111 are parking in other deeded spaces. We're constantly getting complaints of cars in other spaces. I brought,
I'm sorry, one other question is, the address is this condo 110 and 111? Or are you speaking about the other businesses in the?
no, this is, I'm speaking about condo 110, which is in front of the board.
Okay, thank you.
Asking for the license.
Thank you, okay, very good.
So I brought some current photos.
Yeah.
for you to see.
There's two of them, I thought.
This is the aerial view of the property.
Okay,
The yellow mark is the unit in question.
very good. What
This
numbers,
is-
if you'd like to look at that?
These are photos in front of the unit the other day. Without the dealership in work,
Without the dealership?
without the dealership.
Because they're not, okay.
So, as you can see, all the parking spots are taken.
Yep, I noticed this van, is that the van that you have out front? Is this related to your business?
No.
Okay.
That's a tenant.
Okay.
That's a tenant that is next to this unit that's applying for a license.
So just for clarity, the gentleman said that he has 3 spots. Does he have 3 deeded spots?
He has 3 deeded spaces.
And he's letting us know that he's going to utilize those spots.
Correct.
Okay,
But currently, all the spots are full.
including his 3 deeded ones?
Yes.
By someone not,
I have-
not his business though?
I have no idea.
So if he's, I'm asking, just if you can help, and maybe the owner, the applicant can help. Are you currently doing any business in using those spots, or is other people using the spots assigned to that unit
The only spot I use is right in front of my garage.
for you?
Yeah, and we actually, I pull a building permit, and I'm a general contractor. So I pull my van into.
Janet, can you go to the microphone?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to, if you don't mind, if you could go to the microphone, because we are taping. We are a local cable, and they'll
Yes.
wanna hear your answer.
Sorry about that.
That's all right.
So I have secured a building permit.
Yep.
And I have my guys doing the construction inside, the framing and everything else. We had the inspections last week, and Jim Butler is gonna do my rough inspection next week also. But I'm not parking any cars in front of the property.
Okay.
When I go there with my van and my contractors, they pull into the property and park inside, not outside. Whoever's parking using my parking spots, it's not myself and it's not my contractors.
Okay, so I appreciate that this is what's happening there now.
Yeah,
And this
is-
last picture?
This picture here is the driveway going down to the back of the building.
Yep.
And you can see people are parking now along the wall.
But those are not his people or his customers, those are other tenants or visitors to your tenants,
To the adjacent.
to the adjacent unit, but they're not his responsibility.
No.
No, he's not bringing, well, I'm just trying to clarify, he's not bringing this traffic and parking that's happening there now.
No.
Other than his one vehicle in
Can I
one
see
of
the
his
top
3
one?
deeded spots.
Just the top one.
And your concern?
Well, our concern is the area is congested, very congested. And I can't see how bringing in the dealership and filling the bay with 8 cars, 4 cars, 6 cars, 10 cars, 12 cars,
10 is the maximum.
to move these cars in and out, I don't know where these cars are gonna go. I don't know how this is all gonna function.
Okay, so, thank you. If you could go back to the podium, unless the board has questions about the pictures that they need clarity on. I'll ask a couple of,
I'm fine with the pictures.
I'll ask a couple of clarifying questions, just so so I understand, and perhaps the board has the same questions I have. You're concerned about congestion now, prior to his opening, but he has 3 deeded spots.
Correct.
Which other people obviously are using if you're saying it's full. Well, that's not on the applicant to be responsible. If he maintains only his 3 spots, he's well within his lease or whatever rental agreement. So I can appreciate that he'll be bringing business to the area. That's his intent by design, by appointment as the other 2 units do by appointment. It's online sales. It's not a drive-by, you see 5 cars and flags in front of it, and happen to notice, I'd like to see that car. You have to actually have an appointment. I appreciate Select Board Member Bennett's question about moving cars around. Yes, he may temporarily have to move 4 cars out to put one out, and then move the other 4 back in and put the first one in the front of the line. That would be a temporary situation. You did say so a question that you raised, I'd like to ask the applicant, do you intend on any signage on the outside of the building? Have you considered that? Any, display signs? And I'll have to ask you to go to the podium to answer.
I do have only in front of my garage door and on top of my door.
Okay.
On my unit.
Already, currently?
Yes.
Okay, so you're not adding signage? Your intent is not to add new signage now?
I did. It was installed last week.
Okay.
For the designer, but we don't want to add anything else.
Oh, I see it. Okay, thank you for the board members on the actual physical door and above his transom with these signs were replied. Mr. Bennett?
Is he subject to signage regulation by the building commissioner / CBA? There's so many square feet of signage allowed on a window or the building.
Well,
and that holds true to the whole property.
Right.
Correct.
Every business.
Currently, sir, we have a lit sign in the entrance of the property. That's what the town granted when the building was constructed, and each business is lit with the name of the business. And then in the master deed that's filed in the registry, it clearly states that any alterations to the outside of the building, including signage, has to be presented to the Board of Trustees for approval, for uniformity to the building. We have never been notified of anything.
Well, the question then would go to the applicant. Did he get a copy of the rules and regulations of that?
And if you'd like to answer, I'm going to have to ask you to go to the podium if you don't mind, please. Thank you.
And then we're going down this rabbit hole.
I apologize for
Doors
the
open.
interruptions. Yep. My name is Nick Marcos. I live here in Danvers, Burnham Lane. I'm the property owner. I own Unit 110 as well as Unit 111. So if I could just briefly give you a rundown. I did own 3 consecutive units, 109, 110, and 111. 111 is now rented, 110 is rented, and 109 was sold. All 3 of those units were empty for almost 6 months. So I think a lot of the people that other condo owners were just using the empty parking spaces in the interim until those spaces were filled. And now that they're slowly filling, it's cleaning itself up in terms of people parking in those spaces. I think because Robert is not there all day, every day, because there's no operating business at the moment, the tenant at 111 is now taking advantage of that and probably overflowing his parking. So it's a simple conversation that I can have with my other tenant to clear that mess up. That's definitely not an issue. It's clearly my obligation as a landlord to make sure that he's complying with whatever the master deed says. And also in terms of signage, a small error in not understanding that it needed to go to the Board of Trustee is all that is, and that's clearly something that I'm more than willing to rectify. We have no intention of trying to run any business there that's not an operation that's clean and compliant with and consistent with whatever else is going on in the building. So those are definitely issues that I will more than happily take care of with my existing tenant and with Robert in terms of making sure that their signage is compliant with the master deed as well as the parking that they have. So I didn't even...
because I know these are not installed signs, but just signs over the transom and signs
Correct.
applied. It's an applique
Right.
to the door.
And to my understanding,
if you want to pass that down so the other ones can look.
I have been notified by the property manager a few days ago about the signage not being compliant and not going through the proper channel. So it was my intention to get there. I just didn't think that it would come up in this kind of a meeting setting, so I was not prepared for that. But I do have every intention of making sure that we comply with
So the trustees have raised an issue about the signage.
Correct, yeah.
As trustees, you also raised an issue about notification about construction. Is the master agreement allow for you to do construction that's permitted? And obviously, you have to go through the permit. Do you have to but does the master agreement call for you to contact the trustees about doing interior work on your building?
To the best of my knowledge, it doesn't. However, anything that any construction that Robert, I'm sorry, has done, I haven't done any, but any construction that Robert has done has been permitted by the city in terms of meeting the guidelines for what's allowable as a use and what can be installed. I personally haven't run anything by the committee, however.
So I'll ask the trustees,
Yeah.
is there something in the master agreement that the tenants have to notify you about town-permitted construction inside the buildings?
It clearly states in the master deed.
You'll have to go to the podium, I'm sorry.
It clearly states in the master deed, a copy of the lease is brought to us. Insurance certificates are brought to us. Building permits are brought to us. And any changes being done in the building, a copy of plans and town signatures approving it brought to us. We have not received anything.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
if I may make a statement or comment.
Please.
Richard's here for a Class 2 dealer license.
Right.
That's all our responsibility. We're not responsible for signage, lease agreements, deed restrictions, what the owner should do or not do. I think they need to go straighten everything out, and then Richard can come back to us when we know that everything's in order. I can't vote for Class 2 dealer's license if there's so many open-ended issues.
With all due respect, sir, I clearly will take care of those issues. I don't think that these issues should be even discussed in this type of a meeting setting. I don't think that they're applicable.
No, it all should have been cleaned up before we even got here.
Clearly,
Period.
but it was a mistake, and it's very easy to rectify it, and I don't think that there was any ill intent or malintent here. I think that this is just an issue that was overlooked, and everything is compliant, and I can clearly have the conversation with the people that need to have the conversation, and that can be settled without issue.
Well, are the trustees fine with that?
Well,
Through you.
Again, I don't think-
and I'll ask in a second. But I guess the question I would ask, I think you're right, we're here for Class 2 dealer's license at a zoned location. I don't know that we would be party to the internal machinations of
wouldn't.
these things, and I don't know that we would hold it up because of that. The presumption is that this, that I realize the trustees are offering, that this stuff hasn't been presented. It's not what I didn't hear, and I'll ask the trustees your question in a moment. I'll add to it, is the master agreement, the documentation, aside from the signage, the documentation, because that requires an approval. But the knowledge, documentation can be presented. Is that something that has to be approved by the trustees? Or is it just they need to know? So they need to know that it was legally done. So the question of the trustees through Selectwoman Bennett is, if you want to restate your question again to the trustees.
Right, so there's some issues that you brought up, all valid issues. Are you comfortable with them, the owner, coming to you to straighten everything out?
Absolutely.
So then you don't have to come back here. You'll be happy. Everybody can work everything out. Because I don't want to give a license to somebody that can't occupy a building.
Correct. And we're not here to stop you from that. We're making the board aware of what's been happening at this property. That's why we're here.
Okay.
Jim has a few words.
Again, I hate to
Excuse me.
reiterate, I am Jim McDonald. My background, I'm an electrical contractor for 45 years, owning Bay State Electric. I also am the electrical inspector in the city of Peabody, and I've been a firefighter for 25 years in Peabody, and soon to be moving to Danvers. That being said, my concern is a safety issue. One of the issues is this. I had applied for the same application years ago that they did, and Rich Maloney was the building inspector, and Captain Brooks, I know he's retired. He made me, okay, and I know them both very well, he made me put in a carbon monoxide detector approved by the fire department and the building inspector that would trigger an exhaust fan if you're storing any vehicles in that building. I do store 2 or 3 vehicles in the building, and that unit is presently there. If that's been done, I have no problem. But I also know other people that they store vehicles in that building, there needs to be a carbon monoxide detector that will trigger an exhaust fan to alleviate any carbons, gases, whatever that may be, which I'm very familiar with. If that's been done, I don't have a problem with it.
So I will say that I appreciate that you were required under that current zoning at that time to comply. My presumption is that when the building permit and the other permits were issued by the town, it conforms to our current zoning.
Got
And
it.
you're welcome to get that information from the applicant. I'm hearing them say they'll provide you with the plans, they'll provide you with permits, they'll provide you with the sign-offs from the town, whatever they get, they'll provide you with that information. If there's a question that you have then about it, it would be your question to the town, to the building inspector or the fire department.
Correct.
Okay, and the approval that the trustees would have to provide now is not about the building, but about the signage. And I'm hearing the applicant saying they'll work with you on that. I'm hearing you saying all of these can be rectified and you're not here to stop the application. You want it on record that these things have to be completed.
That's correct. Like
And
any
I
other,
don't want to speak for the other gentleman as well. I hope you, do.
Correct. It's
Okay.
just- it
like any
seems-
other tenant or owner there.
It just seems we're backwards here. First step should have been applying to the town and then notifying us and showing us and walking us through what is going to be happening in this particular bay and whatnot. And we're kind of backwards now in all of this.
I apologize if I did that backwards, but it wasn't intended. It was just a lack of knowledge in terms of what the process was. However, we're here in front of the board to
They did apply to the town. I can't speak to the other processes about the timing of notifying the trustees and when they should have done it. That's a communication gap that would be outside our purview. Is there anything else? It's a public hearing, so if there's anything else you'd like to present or offer? Did you get an opportunity to say what you wanted to say?
Yeah, as long as, if those legal matters, you're right. If those issues have changed, and I will check with the new fire department and the building inspector, Jim.
Yep.
If they've changed, then I don't have an issue with that. But at the time,
And I don't know what they have. I'm saying
Okay.
that my presumption is,
And it's not a showstopper either. I mean,
Right.
as long as that's applied, because
I
what
can't
hap-
speak to those zoning changes or their requirements. I'm saying that they applied for a permit, they conformed to it. If it's been inspected and signed off, my presumption is the town has approved the fact that they've made all applicable changes accordingly. And you're more than welcome to happen to ask the building inspector or the fire department about those.
Great. Thank you, members of the board.
You're welcome. This is a public hearing.
Thank you.
Sir, no, are you all set? Yes. I didn't mean to cut you off. Is there any other member of the public who has a question about this application? Hearing none, I'll accept a motion.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Motion
Second.
made to close the public hearing, seconded. All in favor to close?
Before you do, can I just speak to this?
We're just closing the public hearing and then going to the motion about the application.
Okay, thank you.
So the motion's been made to close the public hearing. Any other question on that motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. I'll now entertain a motion on the application.
Mr. Chairman, if I may make a motion that we approve the application of RBK Auto Sales, DBA RBK Motors, 100 Ferncroft Road, Unit 110, Richard Kumpel, owner for a Class 2 dealer license at that location, subject to all building and safety codes being adhered to.
Motion has been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Now I'll open it up for discussion. Mr. Bennett, you made the motions? Any
They're
discussion?
pretty clear, cut and dry. He can have the license, we just want to make sure that all the building codes and safety codes are adhered to. We're not getting involved in the back and forth between the trustees and the owner.
You made the second?
Sure, and Richard, good luck with it. And just, both of you know that to always work with the trustees of any property, even when you buy a condominium for residences, you know, you have to go through the condo association and the trustees and, you know, certain wreaths on doors or things like that with properties. So I think it's very workable, and I'm here to help you get this Class 2 dealer license. And I like what Dan said, just everybody work together and get this done. Thank you.
Mr. Mills, you had a comment, sir?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Is it Robert or Richard?
Richard.
Just some thoughts. If the board votes to approve this license, it is not, of course, an approval of anything that may be in violation of the agreement, you know, the master deed and the agreement that all the property owners agree to. So I think I'm settled that everybody understands that we can't approve anything that happens to be in technical violation of your agreement. And it sounds and it feels as though the parties have come to a level of comfort tonight that you're not opposing the grant of this license. What I was just concerned with, because I'm an old man and I've been a lawyer 53 years, I don't like to have unfinished business that then turns into a lawsuit between the trustees and the owner of a unit, because that stuff is horrendous. I mean, I worked on that, you know, and we don't want that. But I've got the feeling that it's going to be worked out, and just so that I think everybody knows, our grant, if we do vote to grant the license, we are not granting any authority to violate anything that may be in some civil contract between the parties. All we are doing is approving a license, yeah. But I do have some, and I suspect I'm going to vote with the board to approve this. But when I first saw the floor plan, I'm saying, what are you doing there? But the business model's none of my business. I got nothing to do with that, but I'm saying, how is this gonna work? And if there are serious concerns and problems about parking and whether or not there's space, well, we can approve the license and then let you go to the land court and fight it out for 2 or 3 years. Well, I really hope you don't do that. But then again, it's not a reason for us to deny the license. Are you reasonably comfortable that it can work with the owner here and the proponent to get what you need, to be satisfied that all your contract, your master deed conditions and restrictions, that they are compliant?
We hope so. I
Okay.
hope so. I'm confident they comply like everyone else, all the other owners. and
Sure.
tenants that have-
All right, well, thank you, Mr. Chairman, that was just,
Thank you. Select Board Member Duggan?
Yeah, just a kind of a follow-up to Mr. Mills' statement. So the trustees have 22 units. That's a lot of different interests and a lot of different people, so it's kind of like herding cats, I would think. But I think it's unfair to the applicant to hold the applicant to a higher standard than everyone else is being held to. So I think it boils down to communication, right? Having the trustees communicate with all the condo owners to make sure everyone's on the same page. Maybe that would go a long ways towards kind of preventing these type of situations.
We don't currently have any issues at the property.
Okay, and I'm gonna thank you for, I think the public comment portion of this
Yeah.
is done at this point.
Yeah,
I'm
so I
just
think
looking for board
that was
comments.
just the point. I mean, I think from listening to the applicant, it sounds like he's given this some, quite a bit of thought, and it sounds like the owner is also assisting him. So I think what the applicant has heard tonight, I'm confident that he will follow through and make sure that he's adhering to the standards that the trustees have set. So that's all I have.
Yeah, I'm gonna echo some of the sentiment here. Before the board is an application for a Class 2 dealer license at a location that zoning permits. And a condo association, a trustees relationship, a landlord relationship is out of our purview. It is allowed in this building, other businesses already do it. I understand the concern that there was not the notification the trustees would have wanted or the signage approval that is in their land agreement. But that's not the purview of this board. So I'm going to be voting for this purely on the fact that the applicant has presented a petition, an application, the permits, gotten approvals to do the construction he did, and has, in the eyes of the town, is fully compliant with what we would want to do. So that's my concern and consideration. Any other conversation? There has been a motion to approve it with the condition that that we verify that all the town permits and construction with compliance, which by nature of the application would have to be anyhow, it has to be signed off by the appropriate bodies. That's, so, all in favor of the motion that was seconded? Oh, we're outside the public comments section at this point, thank you. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Mr. Bennett stepped away, so it'll be 4-0. Thank you very much. You've been approved. You'll work with the clerk, and the clerk will work with, to provide, and recommend you provide the information to your trustees so that you tick and tie all of their information.
Thank you. All right, thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you. Good luck to you. The town manager will report to the board on various items of interest. Town manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have two items tonight. The first is simply a report that the Finance Committee completed its review of the fiscal '23 budget, as well as what I'll call the capital works or public works portion of the warrant during their week of hearings last week. And they are slated to review the warrant, the remainder of the warrant this coming Monday, the 25th. So everything that was presented last week was recommended favorably as approved by this board. And next week will include a lot of the non-capital portions of the warrant, including the citizens petition for the recall, as well as the proposal to modify the admissions parameters at Essex Tech. So Monday the 25th at 7 p.m. in this room. And then just briefly, earlier tonight we talked about possible tweaks to our current zoning that may be required as a result of the economic development bill that was passed last year. The other item I wanted to mention briefly, I sent the summary to the board last Thursday of a proposal that has been delivered to the planning department for the redevelopment of the Hot Lot site for a project that is being referred to as Maple Square. You'll probably recall that an application was made before the ZBA around a year ago, seeking a variance to put in a drive-through at the corner of Hobart and Maple Street. That request was not supported by the ZBA, and the development team went back and redesigned the project. So the image that you received today, as well as the narrative last week, is consistent with the zoning that was approved by our town meeting in 2017. It will require a special permit based on the density counts, but there are some aspects of this project that, at least at the staff level, were viewed very favorably. First and foremost, years went into developing the zoning for this part of town, and this project is consistent with that. Importantly, as the new zoning requires 20% affordability, we'll be looking at a potential 30 units of affordable housing in this project. Of the 147 that are proposed, which, based on our analysis as of today, would bring the town back into full compliance with 40B come the fall. Also, although the project itself will involve the removal of most of the buildings on the parcels that have been consolidated for this project, the development team listened to the Preservation Commission and has incorporated the red and yellow freight house on Hobart Street into their design. And it's the aerial, we haven't seen a ground level view yet, but they've engaged Halverson landscape architects to help design what is really intended to be a civic space adjacent to the rail trail with public restrooms. There are several restaurants incorporated into this project, some commercial space, and really I think a lot of elements that will enhance the streetscape and pedestrian experience as requested by town meeting when the zoning was put in place. So the application has been filed upstairs. At this point, our understanding is that the public hearing process will commence at the May 24th planning board meeting, where the applicant will come and make a full presentation to that board, which has jurisdiction over this project, in terms of what they are seeking to accomplish. I would be happy to try to answer any high-level questions about this. But again, this is a planning board item, but I had requested a summary of the project be provided that I could share with this board, because as it breathes and starts to make its way through the process, it was important that the select board had an overview of what was proposed. Happy to take any questions.
And this is a informational presentation, not something we approve or adopt or make a board statement about. But I'll welcome any questions. Mr. Bennett?
Thank you. Steve, is this part of the project over here to the right, the parking, the green, and this building here?
No, the grayed-out building is an existing building.
That's the existing, okay.
The bright elements are part of the project.
So they're taking down the three-family that's there and everything
So
else?
this is part of the required parking counts.
Okay, and where are the restaurants located? Not Betty Ann's?
Well, as I understand it, they're working with Betty Ann's to occupy either first floor space in the new building or potentially the freight house next to the rail trail.
And there's another restaurant?
I don't know that they've identified that yet, but they've made space available to both the
Retail.
corner grocer and to Betty Ann's, so the existing,
CVS?
no CVS in this
None?
proposal.
Interesting, okay.
So the CVS is gone now.
I think the CVS is gonna remain downtown,
Yeah.
is my understanding.
And the orientation is shifted 180 degrees from being on the
Right.
back
Really
edges.
has.
Which
Yeah.
is, the
Probably better.
first proposal, staff gave feedback that all of our zoning describes having development oriented to the street and stepping down into the neighborhoods. The first proposal did the opposite of that. This is consistent with that, so.
Okay.
And I did ask the chair, in case, I did ask the town manager in case other people have the same question. This will conform to the frontage, the zoning applied by the frontage that provides for, after a certain height, a step back. It's not one straight face based on the height.
It is consistent with the zoning.
It's consistent with the zoning. Is there any questions for the town manager on either of his items of interest?
May I comment?
Mr. Mills?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm very happy about this coming together, because as you all know, I've lived here my entire life. I've driven by that corner of the square and the rest of the square, and that has always been an important part of the town because so many wonderful people had great jobs there, and the Lees were such great shepherds of that area. But still, it was a mess. It's a mess. And as this has been going back and forth over the last year, I was worried about where it was going to go and whether it would eventuate. And I think, once again, that our planning people and with energy from the town manager have worked to make all of these pieces fit in with a rather sophisticated zoning and requirements for, in any event. I like it a lot. Once again, I say the town manager and his team did a great job of coordinating with the private land interest, and I hope it can all come forward, and I hope Betty Ann's can find a home, because Betty Ann's has been here almost as long as I've been here. Betty Ann's Sub Shop and the tuna sandwiches there. It's like 65 years worth of stuff. We gotta save them, Steve. Do you know what I mean?
We're working on it.
Okay.
Those and I
Thank you,
have
Gardner.
Mr. Duggan, you have comments?
Yeah, I had a question for the town manager. So you mentioned that this development will still require a special permit for density?
Correct.
And what is the proposed density?
So the proposed density here is 35.9, which is at the upper limit of the special permit density within the district, which also triggers the 30 units and will require presentation before the planning board in terms of other improvements and amenities that are being included in the project.
And that's for per acre?
4.09 acres, so the 147 units proposed comes out to 35.9 acres, 35.9 units per acre.
Right. Well, I just want to echo what Board Member Mills had said, that this is definitely an improvement over what the last application, that was an example of someone not following the directions. It was a development that was more appropriate for out on Route 1 somewhere. It was sort of a walled-off complex that really didn't interact with the surrounding area whatsoever. So from what I'm seeing, I'm sure there's more to come, but having the buildings right on the street and contributing to the streetscape and kind of extending the downtown into this, what was considered a gateway into our commercial area. I'm looking forward to learning more about this, and I think it's more in tune with what town meeting was expecting, I think, what they were kind of envisioning when they passed this back in 2017. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. And what
I
date?
should have channeled my inner town engineer. At one of the points made in the summary, which I forgot to mention tonight, Stephen King is excited. We'll have about a quarter-acre less impervious surface, too, so that it's at the highest density. But when those buildings come down and the parking goes in and the low-impact development and the bioswales, there will be about a quarter-acre less pavement and impervious surface than there was there before.
Any other questions for the town manager on either of his items of interest?
I just want to comment too that I think, the Lees have been terrific with the town of Danvers, and I'm looking forward to this development, seeing how it goes. I'd love to hear about the 30 units, Gardner. You and I always talk about the affordable units, so that's really good for us. I just hope that they're affordable. We talk about, Steve sent us a memo about the bedrooms and.
The Affordable Housing Trust meets on next Wednesday, and we'll be discussing this. In the past, there have been opportunities to, there's a mix of studios, 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units, and the Affordable Housing Trust and the applicant had worked in the past to kind of increase the number of 3 bedrooms and work with them on the mix.
Right.
And that is our hope and intent when we come together. They are meeting the standards of the special permit, which is 20%, which does help us dramatically. And if this were approved by planning board, that triggers the fact that we are now in a safe harbor position. I want to clarify something that came up at FinCom.
Mention that, to explain to them what the safe harbor.
Yeah, so at FinCom, there was questions regarding our DHCD 10% threshold. We are still over the DHCD 10% threshold. The census has not been validated or certified. Until that action happens, nothing will happen. But DHCD does provide for communities that are close with certain actions that they have taken, some of which we've already taken. We have a housing production plan. We have other documents in place. We have applicants in the pipeline with the DHC waiting permission. They will grant a safe harbor provision that just because we may be 1 physical unit below the rate, we have the opportunity to say, listen, these things are in the pipeline, and they will consider that as part of 10% unless something were to fall apart. We could legally and adequately stave off a 40B application that we were not supportive of. And I say it in that manner because 40B has been used by some developers in ways that we didn't embrace, but there are what's called 40-friendly Bs. And if we were to receive an applicant who wanted to provide and seek relief, the select board could be petitioned and approve a 40B project that the select board would deem in the best interest of the town, that may forego some of the zoning bylaws. So we're actually in very good shape on this. And what date did you say the planning board will hear this?
I think the May 24th.
May 24th, okay, so that'll be, the Affordable Housing Committee will meet and discuss their options with the developer next Wednesday, and then it'll be presented to the planning board with what appears to be limited, to fall within the special permit zoning, as it were. There's no zoning relief they're seeking.
Is it the same developer, Steve?
It is, and I should
Okay.
note, David Massey and Nick Fay are the 2
Okay.
principals we've worked with. They've been very open to the town's ideas. I'm sure that they will be open to hearing what the trust has to say in terms of the right mix of units. But they have, this is, as was alluded to, this is very complex zoning. In some ways, at the staff level, we don't feel badly for them because they wouldn't be proposing the project if they weren't going to make money. But this has been a difficult process because they are in some ways helping us work out all the kinks in the zoning that we just put in place. So we're learning a lot as well, and we'll be able to make some recommendations on a moving forward basis for how to strengthen the zoning to make it more user-friendly for the development community, but also remain consistent with what the town meeting is looking for in terms of feel, scope, and scale.
Great.
Any other questions from the town manager? I will accept a motion on the consent calendar.
So
I'm
moved.
going to abstain.
So moved.
Motion-
Second.
Motion made and second for the consent calendar. Any questions on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 4-0, and 1 abstain. Thank you. Correspondence, Select Board, new business, previous new public business updates, and Select Board closing comments. Mr. Mills, would you like to start, sir?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just to report the, number one, there's wonderful things on the website for the town of Danvers. One of them is complete identification of the various boards and commissions and that we have in the town. I always am nervous that it's really not the best. We used to have newspapers that were very reliable and filled with, like the Danvers doings in the Salem News some 30 years ago. Anything you needed to know was there. And so now people are relying upon the internet and town websites, and lots of people my age don't even know how to use a computer, let alone how to find a site that would disclose all the great information. Well, I'm particularly interested in the work of the Human Rights and Inclusion Committee, which began some 30 years ago as the Danvers Diversity Committee, changed to the inclusive model, which probably a year and a half ago, which became the national standard. And wonderful things are happening. I must say, I watch it all quite carefully, and I think that we have one of the most talented group of people on that committee committed to doing good stuff to make this town more and more and more welcoming to everybody. And there's going to be a regular meeting the 21st. Now, I think that's day after tomorrow. It'll be in this room. I don't know if it's televised. Is it, Steve? Televised. But it's good stuff, and I wish people who were silly enough to watch the selectmen's meeting would be attentive enough to watch the Human Rights and Inclusion Committee. There is great things happening with respect to Pride Month coming up. They did great stuff with Black History Month. They've done great stuff with Women's Month, and Gay Pride is the month of June. There's going to be an enlarged demonstration in front of the town hall with rainbow flags, and an effort to get rainbow flags flying on a lot of different buildings, including our public buildings. And there is going to be a rainbow picnic event on the library grounds. I don't know the date, but of course it's in the website. And it's great stuff. And also, that committee is paying acute attention to the hockey room, the hockey locker room stuff, and the concerns of the NAACP and all of the concerns who, in the final analysis, want people treated fairly and decently. So that's a hard bunch of work for that committee, and any moral support that people can give to it is very important, because they're doing great stuff. And that's all I wanted to talk about. Thank you.
Thank you, Select Board Member Duggan.
Thank you. So I'm just going to, I didn't plan on saying anything about the website. The town's website, there's a rumor that there's going to be a new improved version coming out sometime later this year. And that won't be too soon, because as most of you know, the town website is sort of like a Alice in Wonderland's rabbit hole, where you go down the hole and you never know where you're going to end up. And so I think in anticipation of a new website, we should really have more input from the users, not necessarily people that work here in the building, but residents who actually depend on town services. they often struggle with finding documents or, even calendar entries, that type of thing.
It's in the works.
Somebody's working on that. yeah.
Well, no, we're not just saying that, but this is, the website when we got here was very, very antiquated. We did upgrade the website, and I'm using that term loosely because it was a very inexpensive open source model that we went to. But a lot of the hard work in updating the website was done when we called and cleaned up the old back end on our legacy site. Several years in with the new site, I like the description of sort of a down the rabbit hole. We're done with that. COVID taught us, if nothing else, we need to have a 21st century website. ARPA provided us an opportunity to eat the upfront cost to do that. The ongoing cost is not considerable, but that upfront cost was prohibitive for a number of years. So IT is taking the lead on getting the framework set up, but then that group that's working on that has every intent to bring in community feedback and input to make sure that it's important to have it be user-friendly on the back end, because part of the reason sites become very cumbersome for the public to use is because they're cumbersome for the people managing it on the back end to take care of. So we want to make sure that it's nimble on the back end, which makes it useful on the front end. So I think people will be very pleased with it. But yes, to your point, we'll be looking to incorporate some input as it moves forward.
And that's a desired trait, right? That you have the design, the framework, it's built in such a way that it's scalable. So over time, as you're continuing to store more and more documentation, and really, I think that's the key, right? You have the ability to search for documents rather than going down in the basement here and looking for them. You can actually find them online. So I think it's a very valuable asset for the town. So I look forward to that. And then I just wanted to mention the residential trash pickup. So we mentioned this, we discussed this last month during the budget hearings. The contract with our current vendor, JRM, expires next year. And so I think we're anticipating some significant cost increases for residential pickup. I think the recyclables market has bounced back, so that's kind of a benefit for us. We learned last week that JRM is being purchased by a national company called Republic Services, who already has a presence here in Massachusetts. And so the difference between JRM, which is a family-owned company out of Gloucester, Republic Services is a large corporation on the New York Stock Exchange. So I think people are apprehensive about how the service will be impacted by this change of ownership. I think things will change in terms of how trash is actually picked up from people's homes. The model that we use today, where you have guys kind of running behind the truck, is something from the 50s, and that's not really the model that some communities here in Massachusetts have already adopted. For example, in Lowell, where they have just a person driving the truck who also picks up the containers. The containers are standardized. I think we really will be forced to kind of try to manage not only the amount of trash that we produce, but to kind of reduce it. So hopefully that process of the contract renewal will go smoothly. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Select Board Member Bernard.
Not much to say. Looking forward to, what was it, the parade, the Little League Parade. I think I've been going to that for over 30 years, so I don't miss that. And the block party will be fun. What are the three things that you can never avoid? Death, taxes, and trash, right? And they're all expensive, but yeah, the trash it's a big hot button. We're very fortunate in Danvers to have trash pickup, even if it's the guys running behind the trash truck. But I tell my son all the time, you better get that good education or you'll be a trash truck driver. You know, we got to look at what this town does for the citizens, for the residents, and we do have a lot to offer, even when we talk about the website, you know, that Steve and his team are going to put together. And I like how Matt says, you know, we need to make it user-friendly, you know, maybe have some citizens committee, you know, pop in, or, you know, not a suggestion box, but send in an email to Colby, because we gave him all that money now, you know, to help him design the website. If, you know, other people have some ideas, like you, Matt, and Gardner, too. I mean, you guys are the computer guys. But no, other than that, Gardner and I will be sitting on the Danvers Affordable Housing Trust. We look forward to that next week. So there's a lot of meetings next week. So stay tuned, and we'll get back to you on that, Bill. All right? Thank you.
A couple of things from me. One is, I've already mentioned the Affordable Housing Trust. Thursday, there is a river committee meeting, publicly posted. People are welcome to join. It's on-site, in-site, at the Endicott Park Carriage House. Wanted to mention the town-wide Town of Danvers 2022 town-wide spring cleanup event. There's postings on the town's Facebook page. There's postings on the town's website. And it's an opportunity for people to come on out and start cleaning up, doing a little participating in spring cleaning. We often read on social media how this park is, you know, a mess, or, you know, it's the end of this, you know, it's the spring, why don't they do this, that, or the other thing? The rail trail always has a committee that's fully supportive and does a lot of work keeping that maintained. So if you go on the website, if you were to follow the QC code that's here, you can find it online. You can sign up a team of people if you want to be your own team. You'll be provided with the trash bags and appropriate locations. You can sign up for locations. I am not going to create a team, but I'm going to show up at some of the locations and just pitch in. And I'm certain other people have an opportunity. So look on the town's webpage, see the locations, the various parks and locations that this is happening at, and join in this Saturday from 9 to noon. And help put a little elbow grease to your concerns about making Danvers nice and clean and bright and shiny. Other than that, I am all set, and I'll ask Mr. Bennett to close the meeting.
Thank you, Gardner. So Earth Day, my team will be at Pope's Landing Saturday to clean up Pope's Landing. I picked up my gloves and bags this morning here at Town Hall. Erica had all these bags all lined up. I was impressed by the number of people that are actually participating and pitching in to help clean up. ZBA minutes, talking about the website, Matt, I was looking for the ZBA minutes, and the last one I found was 2021. I used to get hard copies. I haven't seen a hard copy for a while. I'm sure there've been some minutes written up recently. I don't think I needed them to go back to March 21, but I would like the last couple of months if possible. Preservation Commission is very busy. Everybody wants to buy and tear down our historic buildings. 42 Summer Street, we declared it historically significant. Last month at the meeting, the applicant, the owner, actually asked for a continuance to come back with some thoughts they have. So we look forward to that, because that's a national landmark historic building. 367 Maple Street, a local historic building. The history in that property is amazing. Somebody tried to poison his boyfriend back in, I forget the date, the Pope said. Very interesting details that Mr. Trask has dug up. But this is a magnificent colonial that they just want to tear down. We'll be doing a site walk on that next week. 61 High Street is over 100 years old. I don't think it's historically significant, but we'll take a site visit on that. And May 12th, we'll review those three properties, any others that people have purchased to tear down. Republic Services, sorry to hear they're buying JRM. They're constantly out there picking up trash before 7 a.m. in violation of the bylaw. The police department is very good to get after them because it's a very noticeable blue truck. So I certainly hope that they are a little more user-friendly with the time that they pick up the trash. Election in 2 weeks from today, folks. Please get out and vote. And my fellow board members, I'd like to just point out that we do have a code of conduct for the town. And one of the items is to refrain from making statements or promises of how you will vote on matters that may come before the committee until you have had an opportunity to hear the pros and cons of the issue during a public meeting of the committee. And I really would like this board to hold itself to a higher standard for transparency. Next month, we'll convene to elect a chairman, and I hope that we won't promise our votes to somebody until we get into a public session. So I ask you all to consider and follow through on our code of conduct. And please, when you see a vet, please thank the veteran for their service. Thank you. Good night, Danvers.